This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hi and welcome to another edition of the Away End. I'm Craig Courtney and I'm joined by Exeter City fan Sam Parks today to go through the game ahead of Tuesday's rescheduled game against Exeter. So, Sam, first of all, thank you very much for joining us on the Away End.
Nah, no worries, mate. Thank you very much for having me on, and looking forward to the game and looking forward to chatting about it as well.
Brilliant. So we go into the game on Tuesday evening, both off the back of defeats at the weekend. A worst performance I've seen for a very long time for Birmingham, and a 3-2 defeat at Stockport. Wasn't pleasant watching at all. And yourselves, a 3-0 defeat at Wrexham. So it's going to be one of those games where I think we're going to have two sets of wounded teams that are going to look to recompense for the weekend's results. So we actually haven't played each other in the league for quite a while. In fact, we haven't played in the league since the 91-92 season. During that, we both games ended up with 3 points apiece. So those were good. However, over the years, we have actually played each other a total of 11 times, sorry. Mm-hmm. So of those 11 times, Birmingham have won 6 of them, lost 2, and 3 have been draws against your good selves. So, and the last game actually was the League Cup in 1999. So really is a fair while since we have been up against each other. So we've seen the record of Exeter. It's really good as far as the defence was concerned up until the weekend. I think, in fact, you were the strongest defence in the league. So tell us a little bit about what to expect from the game on Tuesday. How does the team generally get set up? Who are your key players? And if you have got any weaknesses, what are they?
We're, apart from the weekend, coming off the back of a 3-0, doesn't really look too great for what I'm going to say, but we're normally quite strong defensively. We normally play 3 centre-backs at the back with 2 wing-backs. Normally a really resolute lineup. We've got some strong centre-backs. Tristan Kramer we've got on loan from Brentford. He's, probably the crown in that defensive jewel at the moment. Really strong, quick defender. So we're normally quite resolute at the back. But Gary Coulter likes us to play out with the ball as well. We like to keep the ball on the ground, not a lot of hoofball, unlike other, lower League One sides. The boys aren't afraid of getting the ball down and playing quickly through the midfielders. Ryan Woods is kind of key to that, ex-Birmingham man himself.
Of course. Looking forward to, because I think Ryan, when he was at Birmingham, he didn't have the best of times. He came from a Middlesbrough side that, when he comes to Birmingham, he thought he was going to get the games and play more than he actually did. And unfortunately, what with our managerial merry-go-round that was going on at the time, he got in the team to start off with and then just completely lost his way and didn't play many games before being moved on. So I think he's probably got a point to prove.
Yeah, he's been top for us. We had him on loan for half of last season from Hull. He really settled down here, which was really good to see for him and for us, and then came on a permanent in the summer on a free. So he's kind of key to it. He was out at the weekend, suspended, but he should be back in for this game. He's a key midfielder for us. And then, we're kind of struggling for goals at the moment. I think we've scored 1 in the last 5, which isn't, the most clinical thing. But Josh McGuinness is a big one for us up front, holding the ball up. We missed him during the international break, obviously, because he was away with Northern Ireland. But he's big for us, playing off him. And then we normally play with 2 attacking midfielders behind that striker, playing off Josh McGuinness. So, it's going to be a lot of trying to get the ball to feet, hold it up and play off him for Exeter. And hopefully it'll be a good watch against a Birmingham team that obviously wants to play football as well.
Yeah, and I think, going into the game, it's going to be an interesting one because defensively we were shocking at the weekend. we cannot see another performance like that. And Chris Davis's interview after the game highlighted the fact that that wasn't what he expected of his team. So I think we're hopeful of seeing a bit of a bounce back from that, and that actually, when it comes to Chris and the team, that they can show us what they can actually do. You know, we on a bit of a run at the moment of not many points. We need to get back into it, and this is one of the games in hand that we have. So ultimately, to get back into second spot, we need to win that game. But it's going to be far from easy and a walk in the park. You know, like we said, the toughest defence in the league. Coming into that against a team that have dried up from a goals perspective makes it interesting, and let's hope we don't get a dull and boring 0-0. But you've mentioned a few of the key players there, Ryan Woods being one of them. But tell us a bit more around, you know, where's the weaknesses in your team, would you say, at this present moment, and areas that, if you could strengthen today, what would it be and why?
I think, the obvious one at the moment is we'd love an out and out goal scorer. We'd love for someone like Stano, who obviously I'm sure we'll move on and talk about in a little bit, but we'd love an out and out goal scorer that can, grab us 20 goals a season and can pull us out of these moments, because at the moment we're kind of lacking in that, that fast young attacker up front who's going to bag us some goals. So I'd love to see that improved. And then obviously building on our weaknesses that came up on the weekend, we conceded 3 goals from crosses, which is very uncharacteristically us. 2 from corners and 1 from another long cross in. So it's tightening up that aerial threat that we seem to lack at Wrexham. We were not the worst team on the pitch, and 3-0 kind of flattered us, but we conceded some poor goals against Wrexham and couldn't create. So I think it's being more clinical in both boxes, taking our chances at one end and then stopping the easy chances, which we failed to do at the weekend.
And something that Caldwell won't like, I suppose, is the other thing of conceding from ultimately crosses and dead ball situations. So, no, it's going to make it interesting. And you mentioned Stano. I mean, how can we not go into this game and talk about the legacy of him and his dad at the club? I think it's actually going to be, in a way, quite tough for him on Tuesday evening, and when he comes up against you, because he has such obviously fond memories. His sale ultimately as well in the summer, I think, brought in a fair chunk for yourselves. So there's a lot of love. And I'll never forget the T-shirt moment when he played for Birmingham on loan and scored against Plymouth. I mean, it was just superb the way he did it, and he didn't hold back when it came against them. So always great from that front. But obviously, he was very young at the club. I mean, do you remember much of him playing, and what did you see in terms of him? And did you ever think that he would become a ultimately £15 million player?
Yeah, obviously we sold him to Fulham when he was like 15, 16. So we never touched the first team there. But then we got him back on loan our first season in League One 2 seasons ago. And he was dynamite. He scored a hat-trick on his last performance in front of, the stand that's named after his dad. So yeah, ultimately we always thought he was going to become something special. He always just looked a really good player. Quite a lot of us have tipped him for England in the future.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful player on the pitch and a great professional off it as well. He's a top guy. Him and his family are, utter legends at our club, to be honest. His dad and him, they're really part of the family down at Exeter. We still get Stano down occasionally when he's not playing, which is, amazing to see. And, he's always just going to be one of us, I think. And it's amazing to see someone from our home club, going for that money and, bagging lots of goals, and hopefully his rise will just continue in the future.
I mean, I've got to say, I'm hoping he bags a couple on Tuesday night, but then there's also part of me that thinks a player, it's always tough for a player to go back to an ex-club, especially if they score. But I think this is extra. This is just extra because of the whole family story that goes alongside it. So I can imagine that actually it's mixed emotions for him on Tuesday evening, and it'll be exactly the same when you play at St Andrews at Knighthead Park. It'll be exactly the same when we're there in the cup.
Mm.
So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. But we've obviously got another sellout attendance as far as the away fans are concerned, albeit the smallest I have known from away allocation from a Birmingham perspective for a very, 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 very long time. But rest assured, they're going to make some noise, and they're still travelling down in the full numbers. So it's going to be good from that front. So we've mentioned Stano and we've mentioned Ryan. But a section I like to do on the away end is to also test your knowledge regarding other players that have represented both clubs. Now, they can be in the form of permanent sales. It can be loan transfers. It could be that they have actually not transferred between the two clubs, but have represented both clubs. And I'm wondering, can you name 5? And I'm afraid to say I can't give you Ryan and I can't give you Stano. So I'm really testing your knowledge there. But can you name 5 others that have represented both clubs over the years?
I'll go with Jonathan Grounds to start with. He was at us when we got promoted from League Two. Yeah, top man, Groundsy.
Is now part of the coaching staff at St Andrews as well. So you will no doubt see him again on Tuesday.
Yes, yeah, I thought so. And then I'll go Noel Blake as well.
Indeed.
Just before my time, but proper journeyman he is.
Absolute legend. A friend of Tilton Talk as well. He has he's actually joined us on the show live to go through all of his history and all of the things he's been up against. And what a true gent! What an absolute true gent!
Yeah, top. He finished his career at us, I want to say. And then Luke Harris, who's on loan at you guys now.
Indeed.
We had it for half of last season. He's dynamite. He is a proper scrappy little player.
Hasn't hit the ground at Birmingham yet. I know he was injured to start off with as well, but I don't think we've seen the true side of him at the moment. Hoping that comes out, across the next few games, but hasn't really embedded well, shall we say?
Yeah, we really really liked him. He was electric for that 6 months after January. I think he scored something like 10 goals in 6 games or something crazy. Really, really good player. I know he's still on the books of Fulham. So, yeah. Oh, who else? I have to think. Clinton Morrison's a good one. That's a big name.
Absolute legend at the club. Never ever forgetting for his goal scoring celebrations when we played our local rivals, whose name I will not mention.
And then, I need one more, don't I?
You do indeed.
Kevin Miller, who's our goalkeeper coach now.
Indeed.
So yeah, no, it's really nice to see a really good connection between the two clubs.
And there were some other great names that you haven't mentioned actually. Some of them I think will be prior to your days, but others stand out and resonate across all of Birmingham. So, firstly, Darren Rowbottom representing both clubs. It was great when he was at Birmingham. Art Kosic, the goalkeeper, he went to yourselves back in 2010 and 11 as a free transfer. You've mentioned Kevin Miller already, but also around his time at both Birmingham and across yourselves, you had goalkeeper Andy Gosney, 92-93 season he transferred to yourselves. Right back, a legend at Birmingham, and he came from yourselves again 92-93 season, Scott Hiley, the great player he was. We had a midfielder whose dad was also manager of Birmingham for a while in Mark Cooper.
Yeah.
So he was great. And then when we go back over the years, and I will say this is the first time I've ever been able to go back this far. So we had 73-74 season with Keith Burker, who came from Birmingham. Your 69 season was Brian Sharples. But then the one that's really gone back over time is 1910, 19 and 11. you took a goalkeeper from Birmingham called Herbert Crosswaite. So there's one
Wow.
for you. There's one for the history books. But some great players that have been there over the time. So, as we've mentioned, we go into Tuesday night, both off the back of defeats, both off the back of unusual defeats as well, shall we say. It's fair for both clubs. So as we go into Tuesday night, it's a rescheduled game. But tell us, what does your heart say and what does your head say the result will be?
My heart says we sneak a 2-1 and Stano scores for you lot. He'll get a great reception no matter what, I'm sure. But, I think my head says you guys sneak a 1-0. I think it's going to be a tight game defensively. I think we'll shore up a lot more after what happened at the weekend. I think, mistakes have been learned from. But yeah, I think it's going to be tighter than, a lot of people think. But I could see you guys kind of just sneaking it a little bit with that, especially that attacking and midfield quality that you guys have.
And I think, I'm going to echo what you've said, to be honest, because we've got to see a bounce back from a Birmingham perspective, and we cannot see a defensive performance like we saw at the weekend again. And I don't think, Chris Davies will. Well, put it this way: if players turn out like that again, I don't think he'll see them in our squad. So he is going to be really pushing them hard. I agree; it's going to be tight. Ultimately, before the weekend, you did have the best record in defence. So we're going to come into it. We need to score some goals. We need to stand resolute in defence, and we need to see a better performance. So I think I agree with your thought of just a 1-0, to be honest. I mean, that's what my head says. I'm not going to lie. I'd absolutely love to come down and score 2 or 3 goals and get back into the running like we did before. But I just don't see it happening. I think it's going to be a very tight game. 2 teams that ultimately will not want to lose. It's a game in hand, so Birmingham need that to get back up to second in the league. So yeah, I'll stick with my 1-0 win. And I will say, I do believe it'll be Stano. I think it's just kind of, if there is such a thing as written in the stars, it's kind of that. And I'd like to think that it's going to be one that he's going to do, that's going to be, a celebration for not just him, but for his family as well. And it'll be nice for him to get back into into that ground. I mean, God, he'll be able to show everybody around, won't he?
Yeah, no, I'm sure, our fans will give him a brilliant, brilliant reception. He's still very, very loved at our club, and, we treasure him and his family. So yeah, I'm sure he'll love being back, to be honest, and I'm sure he'll get a great reception from both sets of fans.
Excellent. Well, Sam, thank you very much for the insight into Exeter and what we are to expect as Birmingham fans on Tuesday evening. We mentioned it again, travelling down the M5 is going to be a long journey for the fans, but one that hopefully they're going to enjoy. And then afterwards, we can see ourselves climbing back up the league, but it's going to be tight. But thank you very much again for your time and joining us on the away end. It's really appreciated. And I'll sign off by saying I hope you have a great rest of the season, apart from Tuesday night, also the couple of weeks later when we play you in the Cup, and then when we play you at St Andrews. But bar that, have a great season. Thank you very much indeed. We'll do this again when it comes to the next game at St Andrews at Knighthead Park. And I'll just sign off by saying, keep right on.